So I have been a huge fan of sport, really not as a player, but as someone who's really fascinated by the experience of being at sporting matches. I really love just watching people watch sports. And for a long time, you could only watch men do that. Watch men play. The men were mostly the ones watching. In 1999, the US women's national team won the World Cup. And it was this really pivotal moment. And I was in my 20s and living all over the country, and everywhere you went, people were talking about the 99ers, talking about women's soccer. It just really hit me that this is huge. This is something that's like really big, and that got me hooked. And it's since then, it's ebbed and flowed, because really women's soccer was the only place to do that. But I've been really lucky that in the last 15 years, women's sports have started growing in a pretty exciting way. Sure, so brand investment in women's sports in particular is really important because they have a lot of catching up to do. Men's sports have had investment for decades, right? Sometimes even longer. Whereas women's sports really still are in a lot of ways acting as a startup. There's a lot of bootstrapping. There's a lot of people figuring out what to do, how to do it with little resources. As women's sports start to grow and the performance levels start to really develop to higher and higher levels, brands need to be able to support that, to leverage that. You're getting a really avid audience, really committed audience in those fan bases, but brands need to invest in teams, invest in players in order to help continue the growth of the game. When you think about how the women's sport in particular has been undervalued for a long time, being able to really measure the brand strength is something that's going to help sports catch up. Again, looking to the US, where the WNBA has just made a record-breaking media deal, you now have evidence that people are watching women's sports and that women's sports are a powerful draw. And so that sort of brand valuation puts the number on it that helps people who maybe don't watch women's sports, who haven't caught on yet, see that there's value there. So it's a really helpful metric in order to be able to show that impact and really show the value that brands can look to when they're thinking about how to best reach their audiences.